for joining us. I'm Storm Team 8 meteorologist Scott Larson. The leaves are changing colors, daylight hours are becoming shorter, and cooler air is beginning to take over, signaling another end to summer and the growing season. Food and agriculture are vital to Michigan, generating more than $100 billion annually for the state's economy. Much of that hinges on the weather. Today's Storm Team 8 is highlighting the producers who work tirelessly in one of the nation's most diverse agricultural markets to deliver your food from farm to table. We start with an overview of the 2025 growing season that brought several challenges to farmers in West Michigan.
It's salsa season, so we've got lots of bell peppers and tomatoes. We grow jalapenos.
Lindsay Visser is a part of a legacy farm family in rural Ottawa County.
I love that our kids are interested in it and that we can continue this legacy. A sixth-generation farm is pretty rare, and it's just so neat to watch my kids work with my husband, to watch them learn from them, to see the trade be carried on from generation to generation.
Spanning 150 acres plus several large greenhouses, the family grows dozens of different vegetables and fruits, selling through the family's business, Crisp Country Acres.
Strawberries to tomatoes to cucumbers, fall squash, Brussels sprouts, pretty much anything that you can grow in Michigan, we grow.
The growing season started with cooler than average temperatures and frost advisories dragging into the month of June. The cold conditions delayed planting in some cases, according to Eric Anderson with the Michigan State Extension Office.
There are some places that stayed a little bit cooler, and it was pretty wet, and so those folks, got planted, I would say, at least a couple weeks later and sometimes a month later than they wanted to.
Temperatures quickly took off, and while some plants responded well to the relatively hot and dry summer in West Michigan, other crops struggled.
Things that blossom like tomatoes, zucchini, that kind of thing, when it gets those super high temperatures like we had, produce doesn't produce the way that it should. My husband harvested a field of potatoes earlier this week. He was expecting to get about 70 cribs, which is the big boxes of potatoes. He got 13 from that field. So that was pretty devastating.
Levi Wenger is the owner of the Double W farm in Middleville, growing rye, corn, and soybeans while helping to raise heifers for a nearby farm. His biggest frustration? Inconsistent rain.
Throughout the summer, our rain, it varied quite a bit. We had, it seemed like we didn't quite have the storms that swept the whole state that came across, and we didn't have the nice steady rains of 3 days of rain, and seemed like we just had hit and miss pop-up showers, which definitely paid a toll on a lot of the stuff that we dealt with.
The Department of Agriculture tracks the progress and condition of field crops in 18 states. As harvest gets underway, only 46% of corn in the state of Michigan is rated as either good or excellent, and has consistently ranked near the bottom of the list throughout 2025. It's expected to be the worst quality corn crop of the decade so far.
This is maybe a little bit smaller than average.
Soybeans are faring slightly better, but may also underachieve.
I would expect that the number of pods and the number of seeds per pod is going to be pretty close to on par. But for those areas that have had that extended dry spell over the last 1 to 2 months, I think we're going to expect to see lower what we call test weights. So in other words, each of those seeds are going to be smaller in the pods. And so it's going to impact yield in those drier areas.
Dry weather has been favorable in that it helps to reduce diseases in crops, such as white mold and tar spot. Farmers now aim to quickly turn the page and harvest before rain creates muddy conditions and adds greater input costs in having to dry the product.
Looks like everything's going to dry out quite quickly, so we're going to be pushing it. Guys will be into beans before they know it here, and then corn's going to be shortly after that, I believe.
Beyond growing and distributing food, Michigan also has an expanding agritourism industry. Agricultural-themed events like the Blueberry Festival in South Haven and the National Cherry Festival up in Traverse City attract hundreds of thousands each year to celebrate with the community, plus enjoy specialty foods and entertainment. On a smaller scale, farms are leaning into creating tourism opportunities to engage with more visitors too.
We more and more see the value of resiliency, diversity, of the fact that there's when we can have a farm that's producing a wider array of product, gives it a little bit more economic stability.
Director Tim Boring with the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development sees an uptick in consumers interested in locally grown meats, berries, and vegetables, while producers are also creating more activities, such as corn mazes and seasonal events to entice guests. As we now enter the season of apple cider and pumpkin donuts, West Michigan businesses had mixed experiences with the conditions of this past summer. Sunflowers at Deep Roots Farm in Alto, for example, fell short of expectations.
Talking about sunflowers, did better than others. The branching varieties kind of held on, where the pro cuts really don't like the heat and the dry weather, and we had nowhere to irrigate them.
However, Lavender Life Farm in Caledonia tells us that their plants thrive on heat and dry soil, with some plants now in line for a second harvest.
It was a very, very slow start. So even the first people that came through, we did not have full fields, which we typically are like bursting with lavender right when it comes. It kind of came in phases. Once it came, it was absolutely beautiful.
Given current economic uncertainty, Director Boring believes that Michigan residents might be more inclined to seek out local opportunities for entertainment and experiences.
I think it's going to be logical here that people might pivot to be looking to explore a little bit more in their backyards or within the region. There might be a car drive away rather than a plane ride as it would have been in the past.
Welcome back. New data reveals that parts of West Michigan are experiencing their worst drought conditions since 2012, which had an impact on the quality and health of a range of produce. Storm Team 8 meteorologist Blake Harms highlights the effects on one of our state's favorite fruits.
West Michigan is great for blueberries.
For those who spend their summers near the lakeshore, this is no secret.
You want 50s, 60s at night so that sugar can really develop in a West Michigan blueberry. That's what gives us, I think, the best blueberry in the country.
But this season has proved challenging for Bowermans and for blueberry farms along the lakeshore. First came the cool spring.
The bees don't go out when it's cold and wet. They sit in their hives and don't do their jobs.
Little pollination, followed by a summer freeze.
Here on this farm, we had 28 degrees on June 1st.
Then, a drought that lasted through the summer.
We have overhead irrigation. We try to supplement our lack of water.
But the berries can tell it's not from above.
There's nothing like a natural rainwater. There's nothing like a thunderstorm to give it the nitrogen and to soak the berries and to make big, beautiful berries. Rain is definitely needed.
The field still produced many berries, but the weather has taken its toll on their size.
The big concern now going forward, obviously the berries aren't going to size. They're going to be smaller. You're going to see it in the grocery store.
For berry farmers, that's a problem.
We get paid by the pound. So I know people sometimes can get upset when it's small. There's no one more upset than me when that's how I make my family living, is based on tonnage. And that's down considerably this year.
Despite the challenges, Bowerman's diversified operation allows them to pivot when the weather becomes uncooperative.
If the size just isn't there, the grocery stores are not going to accept very, very small berries inside of a cup.
In addition to size, taste is also heavily influenced by the weather.
We love to see the cool nights that helps to develop the sugars inside the berry. And we've seen a lot of just very, very hot temperatures. Berries are still sweet. They're still fantastic. But, you know, that's definitely had years where we've had, you know, sweeter, bigger berries.
Now into fall, the focus has already shifted to next season.
But the big concern now is pushing forward in September when the fruit starts setting fruit for next year. We need water to set that fruit to have a good crop.
Despite the challenges faced by farms like Bowerman's this year, their fields remain full and their farmers remain hopeful.
Every season is a great season here at Bowerman's. You know, God gives us great opportunities with the weather, and sometimes the weather is not as good, but we adapt every single day.
We're trying, we're giving our best shot. We're here for the community, we love them, and we just hope you love us and come out and support us.
While the environment has an impact on crops, crops can in turn have an effect on their surrounding environment. Here's Storm Team 8 meteorologist Sarah Flynn with more about corn sweat.
It was a hot and humid summer across West Michigan, but also across much of the Midwest. It led to lots of discussions about a phenomenon known as corn sweat. More moisture is added to the air because of this plant, that water being released from the soil and the plant itself into the atmosphere. It's a process known as evapotranspiration. Now, here in Michigan, we don't fall into the top 10 list for corn production. Iowa coming in on top, all the way down to North Dakota sitting at 10. But in 2024, Michigan did produce a lot of corn. In fact, 2.25 million acres of corn were planted across the state. And if you're wondering how that compares to other crops, soybeans comes in just below that at 2.2 million acres. Now, if we do some quick math, on average, an acre of corn can release up to 4,000 gallons of water daily when the conditions are right. If we multiply that by that 2.25 million acres in Michigan, on a really hot and humid day in the summer, we could see 9 billion gallons of water being released daily. And that can do wonders to our fields out there. Those dew points can rise anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees near those fields. Now, if we take a closer look at the conditions that are optimal for corn sweat, we do need to have enough growth. That typically happens in July or August, and we want it to be big enough to contain all of that moisture. Things like warm temperatures as well as a lack of drought conditions certainly will be beneficial out there as well. So taking a look at this past summer, you'll notice we don't fall into that top 5 list for most humid summers on record. And we're measuring that by the average dew point. In 1995, the warmest or most humid year comes in with an average dew point of 64 degrees, but this past summer was actually close, an average dew point of 61.4 degrees, putting us in the top 15, ranking at number 13. We'll have to wait till next summer to see if corn sweat occurs in Michigan.
Welcome back. As with many industries, agriculture is constantly shifting and changing. Storm Teammate meteorologist Matt Kirkwood spoke with an expert from the Michigan State Extension Office and shares more.
Michigan is agriculturally diverse, number 2 state in the country out of 50 states behind California.
Right.
What makes Michigan just such a great agricultural state?
Senator, it's geological history. So we've got the glaciers that made the Great Lakes, created this diverse soil profile that's good for all kinds of different commodities, different crops. And we have these microclimates that are very unique to Michigan that allows us to have cooler environments for cool weather crops in part of the state, and a little bit warmer weather, drier areas, wetter areas, sandy soils. It's just a great diversity, a tapestry of different environments that make it just perfect for that many crops.
This year, we're kind of struggling with a semi-drought in central Michigan and even the full-on drought conditions. How is that impacting some of the crops, if any of the crops, and how are the yields looking so far?
Right. Well, it's kind of a mixed bag. We have some crops that are doing well in this environment, some that are not. Soybeans looking pretty good overall. Now, wheat had a pretty good year overall, but then it started raining mid-July, and so that's the time of harvest. So that really created somewhat of an obstacle for wheat. So the wheat yields are high, but the quality is going to be a little bit off because it was harvested while it was wet.
What does it look like for Michigan going forward for the future of agriculture?
You know, long term, we see a lot of investment in agriculture, a lot of changes, a lot of automation.
What technologies what's some of the bigger technologies that you've seen really change farming, agriculture?
Yeah.
And what do you perceive in the future?
Pest management with drones is just pretty awesome. We see these mechanical drones on wheels go out and pull weeds or laser shoot weeds to kill them. Pretty neat stuff. Also, drones flying overhead, spraying for pesticides. So there's a lot of new innovation in that space. What I really see as the biggest innovation that I've seen since coming here to MSU would be the use of satellite imagery to fill out the condition of the field and then program into the tractor and the combine what needs to be done. Labor is perceived to be an ongoing issue. It's not going to solve itself.
How much has the urban sprawl chewed into the farmland throughout the state.
And I can tell you about Kent County real quick. Kent County is the 5th most urban county in Michigan as far as land space. And it's also the largest producer of fruit, berries, and tree nuts. So it's a significant agricultural producer, but a large share of its land is actually in urban space. Ottawa is much worse. They lost about 16% of its agricultural lands. And so it lost, I think, 23,000 acres.
Farming is part of West Michigan's backbone, but with challenges from weather to wildlife and a changing economy, farmers are finding new ways to stay ahead. Chief Meteorologist Ellen Baca visited farms in West Michigan to see some high-tech solutions firsthand.
West Michigan farmers grow just about everything, and they're doing it under constant pressure from deer, drought, and dollars.
There aren't many other types of businesses where maybe you put all of your fortune in the ground in the spring, hope it grows, and you can harvest it in the fall.
This year, livestock is doing well in West Michigan. But with over 300 commodities, drought has hit some crops hard.
They can't plan a ton in advance for what the weather's going to look like, so they just have to do their best to kind of keep within their system they have and plan as much as they can and try to control the controllables, because there's plenty that they can't control in a season.
With so much for farmers to think about, they're turning to technology to stay ahead of the curve.
There's probably 20 to 30 farms in Michigan, in the state, that have robots now.
In Coopersville,
come on.
These high-tech milking machines do it all. That promise of food means the cows will line up and file into the milking robot all on their own.
This is also the most expensive feed, which allows us to target feed that based on production. So we're not overfeeding cows a high expensive feed that they really don't need, or underfeeding it if they're a really high production cow.
Each cow is carefully tracked. The collars around their neck stream data in real time.
Gives a total milk production, milk per cow, energy-corrected milk per cow, which takes into effect the fat and protein levels in the milk. She had a little bit of an illness.
Yeah.
Because you can see everything kind of crashed there for a bit, and then she popped right back out of it.
Early detection means cows can be treated sooner, reducing the need for antibiotics. If a cow still needs medicine, the robots automatically adjust, making sure that cow's milk is dumped until the cow is healthy again. Dairy data is available real-time, round the clock, and even across the globe.
I had that when I was in Singapore one time, and in Dubai, pull it up on my phone, and Brittany walks out here and fixes the robot, and I just walk her through it, so.
It's incredible. At River Ridge Farms, they're minding the margins by employing smart design.
Got to come in and do our summer pruning in here yet, so this stuff will get hedged back before the winter time.
Tree canopies developed in Germany have been installed. These are deployed when the weather turns wet at the wrong time.
So it's a louvered system that allows the wind to blow through, and then we've added the bird nets on the outside so we can keep the birds out and keep the rain out.
Too much water in June or July can cause the cherries to split. At Kruithof Farms,
so we are going to head out on the other side of our grain system here next to a farm field. We've got a drone set up out there, and we're doing some cover crop seeding today.
Whoa, is this it?
This is it. Yep.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Programmable drones are making it easier for farmers to plant and spray.
It's all flying autonomous now, so it's going to drop down, and it's starting to move forward now, and you see the seed starting to fall out.
Drones open up new windows of opportunity for farmers.
And it's allowed us to hit some windows that we normally wouldn't with traditional tractors. Like when we get those big rain events and we can't get out there, this is another tool in our toolbox to say, hey, we can go get that job done that the weather's preventing us from doing.
With technology continuing to change, it's clear the field of farming will grow just as much as the crops they produce. Ellen Baca, News 8.
Thank you for joining us for Weathering West Michigan harvest season.